to stand for free your mind and your soul. Yo, half the story has never been told. Ladies, you got to demand what you want, and what we want is respect, right? Yo, just sit up on the track, I know so you have to feel it right. Freedom every time for the sisters. Check this. Watch this.
Here we go now. Listen, if I'm boom boom rule, I be the ruler like Slick Rick. Get with this quick-witted Adidas wearing chick. Papa got a brand new bag. Mama got a brand new Jag. Or go tag. I ain't no old hag. I represent not only in the kitchen, in the bedroom, but also in the boardroom. So give me more room. Deny my opportunity. You in jeopardy. Yo, set me free. Don't hinder me. Let me be.
I'm fighting for freedom. I got the heat in case you need them. Straight soldier. Ain't nobody told ya. Hold up on them lies. I know your games and your plans.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Book Slam Extra. I'm your host Jules. I hope you are okay and you've had a lovely week. I've had a lovely week. I've had makeup malfunction today, so my hands are covered in eyeliner, which I now can't get off. Any tips are welcome. Anyway, I'm your host Jules. I hope you have had a very, very good week. I have been watching the news a lot recently. I don't know why I've been getting into politics. It's quite interesting watching to see what's going on all over the world. So we're going to have a little bit of a chat about that later. So a little bit about me. I am obviously the host on here. I do this every week. I am also a publisher as well of an independent publishing house. And I also have some very exciting authors in the process of being published. I literally cannot wait for their books to be released. It's going to be amazing. So watch out for that in 2024. They are just amazing people, every single one of them. I also do a small Discord server, which is specifically just for authors, writers, poets, and beta readers. Safe space for people who want to have somewhere to go and find ideas and share thoughts and get support and just have a nice friendly chat. I'm also an author of dark fantasy. I also delve into sword and sorcery and dark fantasy. I've already said that. Dungeons and Dragons. Where else? I also do science fantasy as well, children's books and adults books. And yeah, I just love reading and writing. So without further ado, I'm going to invite my lovely co-host. And I can see my other two co-hosts. Oh my goodness, we are blessed today. 1 second, hang on, I'm going to invite all of them to the stream. 1 second.
Hello.
Hey, Melanie, you need to get yourself off mute.
We're all here today. Look at that.
Hi, Julie.
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm spring breaking.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
We approve.
Good for you.
How's everybody else doing?
All right. Well, apart from my makeup malfunction, yeah.
As always, Jules, you look quite beautiful without it. So you don't even have to worry about makeup, dear.
Thank you. That's very kind of you.
And
My hands were
you might try coconut oil afterwards to get it off your hands.
Oh, yes.
That might do the trick.
That's a good idea, but I don't have any coconut oil.
Well,
baby oil will help too now. So if you have baby oil in the house already, you can probably use that too.
Don't have that either, I'm afraid. I just look like I've been at a mechanic shop. It's all right. It just smells better than oil. I'll keep my hands hidden this way. How are you? Shall we introduce ourselves? Well, I've introduced myself. So should we go around in circular motion? Should we go anti-clockwise today? Melanie, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Oh, of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Melanie Johnson, also known as The Voice, and I am an educator, which the reason why I'm on spring break right now. I'm an author, a publisher, and a poet. And I've written 3 pieces of publications, and they're currently on Amazon. But I'm starting to write a different genre right now, thanks to my cousin Adam, who's giving me some pointers. I'm breaking off into the fictional realm. So, but Adam, I must tell you, after I got some of your edits, my my storyline started to change. So I don't know where this is going and where it's going to end, but all I know is exciting, and I'm just excited to share this journey with you guys.
Okay, good. As long as you're happy about it, because I never want anybody to feel like any recommendation I make is ever necessary. You can do whatever you want with your writing. That's what I want to celebrate.
It just opened up my eyes, and I was like, wait a minute. I've actually felt like I was in the store, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, what's that over there? It's like cool, so I'm excited.
Amazing, wonderful.
I did read some of the bits that you'd written. They were really good. I am looking forward to when that comes out. So
Thank you.
That's I just think giving you feedback because I only saw the screenshot. So my resident ghost, Buddy.
There's a buddy. Hey, buddy.
Hi, buddy.
He's like, oh, sod this. All right, let's Reece. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hello, everybody. My name is Reece, aka Reece the Storyteller. I am the author of contemporary romance / erotic fiction. Yeah, I may as well throw it on out there. Working on novel number 2 released, which is the follow-up to my debut novel, Trapped and Exhausted, because Naomi was keeping me up last night. So, and that a part of the fun part of the process, wearing yourself out trying to get the information in. But yeah, it has been a ride, and I want off right now. I'm so tired. But we're gonna make it work. We're gonna do this.
Wow. I'm excited to get that next edition. Adam already got us started with his new I won't let him tell it, but I was already excited. Neil, you put out that your next edition is coming out. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. I gotta get on this train.
When the muse strikes, you gotta listen. You gotta obey.
Yes. You gotta jump on it. It could be 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I was literally up until 8 a.m.
Wow.
Right. I've literally have been working all night. I think I may have slept a good hour if I got that in. Entire day.
Wow. Oh my God. That's intense. That's intense.
Adam, if you're that good at helping Melanie get through her, but I might have to send over a couple of chapters from mine, because I tell you what, my muse has decided to go on vacation for like a long time. So I'm like completely stuck at the moment, and just
yeah, let's talk about it. Totally. Yeah, I love editing. I love helping people figure out that thing. I do a weekly mastermind call with another fellow author who's been on the show before, Fozzie. We that's exactly what we do. We tell each other where we're struggling and the writing we are working on, and help each other out, make ideas and suggestions. And we have this little saying that maybe that could be in your book, that we say to each other when we aren't sure about an idea.
I like that.
Anyways, I'm Adam Andrews Johnson. This is my first book, the Mantis variant, and the sequel literally just came out 2 days ago, a day and a half ago, 3 days ago, something like that. So yeah, the Mantis variant is book 1. There it is, the Mantis variant, and then the Mantis Equilibrium. I don't even have physical copies of that yet. I'm so excited about that. So that's cool. That's coming. I read it. So this is a horror novel that takes place in a dark dystopian future, and a small group of people have started developing superpowers, we'll say, and lots of other people have started hunting them because you can steal their superpowers, and that's the gist of the story. It involves several cool, fun characters, and I've also written, which I'm really excited about, a fantasy novel that's not dark and horrific. It involves human sexuality as the main theme, and there's a lot of character development as the primary source of storytelling, and that's coming out through Jules's company, Danu. Next year, 2024, we're really excited. We've just started the process of that, and I don't have an image of that, but that's cool. And the starting end will be out soon. So next year is really going to be exciting. So that's who we are. Ha!
Very cool.
We're all
together.
It's been a while. It's so
lovely to see everyone all in one place again. We have got some exciting news. We are going to be moving our weekly Thursday after show. A weekly Thursday Book Slam Extra to a Sunday. It's going to be the same time, same channel, same place. But what it does mean is that we can get together a bit more frequently, which is amazing. But it's a bit more relaxed, and also we're going to have more authors, and there's some more exciting stuff to come on that. So stay with us. We're not going anywhere. We're just shifting days. It's a very exciting move forward, I think. So I was very pleased to be able to share that with you. Shall we crack on with meeting our wonderful guest authors?
Let's bring them on, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. We've got two people. I'm wondering how we're going to squeeze on the screen. What I might do is take myself off. Adam, we've got three of them. We got all three of them are here. Excellent.
Yay.
Okay. Let's see how we do with this. Okay, so guys, you're going to have to unmute yourselves. Just adding you to the stream.
Yeah, you may be muted when you first come in, but welcome.
Hey. Ken, if you press the mic image on your screen, it'll unmute you. There you go. Perfect. Hey, welcome,
friends. Yeah.
Hi.
Ken, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your writing and maybe where we can get your books?
Well, my name is Ken H. Daniels. That's a pen name. People know me, call me Tim. But my debut novel is The Man on the Spectrum.
Oh, I think we've got an image of that.
Oh yeah, we've got an image. We can pop that on the screen too. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And this is the paperback cover. There's actually two different covers. You go on, get the Kindle book. It's like a solid red cover, and the hardcover is a big field. And what this is book is basically an account based on real events. My main character is based on me, a grown man who's on the autism spectrum that chronicles challenges he faces moving his way through his professional life and what it means to be diagnosed at 40. It is autobiographical and based on set primarily in Delaware here and the nearby tri-state area, the East Coast of the US. And one can get a realistic account of how the main character handles things and how others do him. And pretty extraordinary tale. There's like an evil, like a bad boss in the beginning who starts to micromanage his brain, DeMarco. Winds up terminating him. And as a result, search for more work, sends him to like vocational rehab, and he finds a company that can help ITI, and it hires people that are on the spectrum. The tale explores his home life as well as his professional life, how he eventually, adopts a baby. Giving away the end too much, but
we love spoilers. You can tell us whatever you want to tell us.
Yes, but I'm also working on a prequel to it about his early life. Working title is like Dandelion Guy. There's a rough draft out on Kindle Direct Publishing. It's not really the formal one. I might decide to call it The Enigma Kid. It's based on his life from birth to age 18 or 19. That tells some really wild tales about what he was like before he was diagnosed. And some of my main characters are like Ken Guthrie, his wife Jacqueline. Some of the supervisors, it's like Wade McRae and Yanis Lewinsky, the mother-in-law, and a couple others, friends he knows. That's sort of like the journey in finding its way. And you have to read it to really get a feel for it. But it's on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Lulu.com.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And we're just thrilled to have you. Thank you. And it sounds like a very poignant story. Tom,
reality-based fiction.
Sorry, go ahead. Reality-based fiction? Yeah, that's very cool. That's very cool. Tom, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your writing as well and where we can get it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tom. I'm calling in from Australia this morning, from
Yes.
I don't know where that disembodied voice keeps turning. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, I've got a few others. So Disruptions is the second one. You'll see. The third one, Disciples. I came prepared. Oh, what's this? I've got a fourth too. This is Disintegration. You'll notice a bit of a common motif on the covers. And book 5 is Dissidents, which kind of ends the first iteration of my series. So I finished that last year, and currently I'm working very hard on book 6, which I've just released the name to, so I can tell all of you that it's going to be called Disasters. And it's hopefully coming out in around July, I would think, but we'll see how everything comes together, because this one's proven to be a bigger headache than most.
Exciting. That sounds. What's the story about? Tell us a little bit about what's in it.
So essentially, it's a dystopian fantasy story. I woke from a dream on October 14, 2018, and it was the idea that came to me. I've always been a fantasy nerd, and the idea that came to me was this idea that maybe there's a chemical element out there that explains all the weird stuff that goes on in the world. Like you might not know, but in Australia, we've got this lake called Lake Hillier over in Western Australia, and it's pink. The lake is pink. If you Google images of it, you see this pink lake. Obviously, the Northern Lights. I've had the privilege of living in Canada, visiting Iceland, and so seen the Northern Lights, and that's such a weird phenomenon. And so came up with this idea that actually this is not a natural phenomenon. This is all caused by chemical element 0. And so the idea was that, being typical humans as we are, we didn't use this stuff for good, for a change. Instead of using this incredible discovery to solve the energy crisis, do something about poverty and all the rest, we used it frivolously. So basically what we did was we created a whole heap of devices to make our lives easier. And we also created creatures of mythology that we kind of enslaved and treated really badly. Mm-hmm. And then one day the creatures of mythology said, you know what? I'm a really violent creature. I can kill things. And so they basically turned on humanity and drove them all underground. And so that's kind of where the story starts, based on that premise. And so I've got 4 main characters who are working sometimes together, sometimes independently, sometimes against each other, to try to restore the world so that humanity can come back out in the open, but perhaps with some form of reconciliation for the things they've done.
Wow, exciting. That's amazing. Again, glad you're here. Thank you so much for being part of it. And it sounds like for everybody out there watching, we're going to be talking about monsters today. Sounds like you've got some monsters to talk about. That's going to be exciting.
That's some monsters.
That's awesome. AIV Esquera, is that right? Esquera.
Esguerra.
Welcome to the show. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your writing and where we can get your work?
Okay, let me start. AIV Esguerra is the pen name I devised when I started my writing career. I don't like to divulge much of who I really am for security purposes.
Perfect.
I started writing in 2020 because of the COVID-19 lockdowns. The first story I wrote was a short story. Hang on. Hold on. Sorry, I'm preparing my laptop for so that I can read off everything I've written. Well, not everything, just select elements. Hold on. This might take a while. I am so humbly sorry for this.
Oh, you have nothing to apologize for. We're chilled out.
We're chilling. Yep, we're a good group here.
Don't worry about it. It's absolutely fine. I tell you what, if if you need to have a few minutes, we could start with one of the other authors and come back to you. How would that sound? Would that make it easier for you and less pressured?
Well, okay.
It's up to you.
Yeah. Sorry. Wait.
I apologise. It's fine.
Well,
Absolutely.
actually, mind if I skip on to my novel?
Do anything.
All right.
Anything you do, yeah.
Go for it.
We've had a few folks on who need to keep their identity secret and just talk about their work. And please just do that. Just tell us about your writing and feel casual and comfortable. That's totally perfect with us.
All right. After that, after that short story I've written, I've been struggling on how to properly debut as a writer, because in that short story I wrote, I didn't earn any money out of it. Being published is a reward enough, so I had to leave well enough alone. My first opportunity as a writer came from The Young Knight of a Desert. I wrote that book to prepare as a volume 0 for a novel series I opted to start with. I submitted it as an entry for a contest. My anime list type cross or X honey feed writing contest. The conditions in that contest says that if you win, your book will be officially published by a Japan-based publisher and may be animated. But I cared little for that. All I wanted to do was win third place and get some sort of monetary reward, but that failed. But I didn't give up. A year after that, I started my proper novel, The Young Knight of the Desert.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that story? What's that about?
Of course. Yeah. Hang on. Let me find the synopsis. Oh, you'll not forget it. Sorry, so sorry. The story is that you have these group of mercenaries, Iron Dutchman Services, struggling to find a job that will allow them to earn, because their last job costed them a good deal of money. They do get their job opportunity because because all they had to do was covertly keep an eye on a teenage corporate heiress named Maria Hoshikawa, but little did they know that she would be targeted by shadowy forces. Not exactly something you'd find in a fantasy, more like your conspiracy that controls the world events from the shadows. And the one thing you should know if you dare decide to buy the book is that the story is alternate history. Unlike in real life, the backstory is that a giant alien ship landed in Earth in 1985. Lots of things had, as a result, after World War III that stemmed from mysterious causes, the world is now divided into supranational unions. The ones who hired Iron Dutchman Services are the new United Nations. And conflicts in that book and sequels I've already started to write are mostly now fought with wall gears, 4-meter tall machines with arms and legs like human beings.
Okay.
Any more questions?
I mean, tell us as much more as you want to tell us. This is so exciting. I mean, go for it.
Well, the Young Knight and His Metal Steed is only volume 1. I've already written a volume 2, but the reason why I haven't gotten that published yet is because I forgot to prepare a cover for it.
Okay, so that's next on your agenda?
Yeah. Once I get... Right now, what I need to do before the cover is made is prepare material for the artist to work on. Artists, because there are 2 artists I need to contact. A character designer, self-explanatory as to what he or she does, and a mechanical designer. The mechanical designer is the one that has to make sure a wall gear looks like a robot.
Wow, that sounds wild.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, so let's jump into the topic of monsters. I think that's the next direction that our show should go. Jules,
Absolutely.
why don't you tell us a little bit about monsters in your book, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Okay. So I have the covers are changing, but these are the covers I have at the moment for my adult series. I don't actually have to hand the books from my children's series, but that also has monsters in it. Actual monsters, but they're worry monsters. They're friendly. In these ones, these are dark fantasy, and basically because I'm really interested in how people recover from trauma and how they recover from difficult events and things. So the story centers on a main character who has really bad trauma happen to her, and I have monsters in the book that are based on actual mythology, but some of it's kind of morphed into my own like creation. And the more she doesn't deal with her issues, the worse the monsters get. The monsters are actual physical things in the story, but they're like a metaphor for how that monster can grow if it's not sort of like dealt with or looked after or nurtured. So yeah, I've kind of got a mixture of a blend of mythology and sort of like my own imagination. Yeah, so there you go.
Cool.
That's
Cool.
my monsters.
Tom, how do you, since we know you've got monsters in your books, why don't you tell us how you sort of address that topic?
Yeah, I used a lot of the traditional fantasy monsters as kind of a starting point. So obviously, you know, dragons are the quintessential, although I messed with my dragons a bit to give them a culture that might reflect how the world might have influenced that, and goblins and dwarfs and that sort of thing, and trolls and whatnot. But then I branched out. So I've traveled a lot, and so I've been really fascinated by the mythology of different countries and how it came about. And so I alluded before to traveling to Iceland, which is something no one from Australia gets to do. So I've been very privileged in that regard. And I learned of this creature called the snacker or the tilbury that basically used to steal milk for women who were deemed to be witches so that they could survive. And so I did a bit of a spin on the tilbury in my book, and it's got and added a few, you know, qualities that wouldn't have been in the traditional creature to also serve the purposes of the story. So that was so I've tried to tap into a few unusual elements of mythology from different countries around the world, including my own. From Australia, the bunyip is a creature who's quite well known by Australians, and so I'm playing around with how to use them in this next novel as well. I also had one, I suppose, entirely original creation, and that's a creature that's just called the Mayhem, and I'll read a little bit about the Mayhem a bit later on, but yeah, it's sometimes they serve the story, and sometimes the story serves them, and it's actually lots of fun seeing where that takes you.
Cool.
It's the character name for me. I'm already interested.
I have dragons in my world, but my dragons are dog size.
Sorry, Jules. I don't think I realized that.
I said, yeah, I have dragons in my world, but they're dog size. I have much bigger, scarier monsters than those. They're like little pets. That's awesome.
I feel like you should be sitting there, you know, doing these ones.
I want one.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. You'll cook your food and, you know, make your water warm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Interesting too.
The first one I have is a rakshasa, which actually comes, I think, from Asia,
Yes.
and also amaroks as well. Manticores is kind of one we know about, but I've tried to choose mythological creatures that aren't really used. So I've stayed away from griffins and proper dragons. Sorry, I tried to make it a bit more, a bit different. So yeah, no, it's good. I'm really looking forward to you reading your work.
Cool.
And also Ken and AOV as well. Ioscara, I'm really looking forward to both of you just reading if you would like to. If you're able to put any of your links in the chat, in the private chat, I will put them as a banner along the bottom or a ticker when you're reading. If you'd prefer not to read, that's absolutely fine. There's no pressure to. But I would love to hear your work, because that's why we're here, isn't it? To celebrate all the authors. And from around the globe, we're such a multicultural group tonight. What we've got America, Australia, is it the Philippines?
And where are you, Jules?
I am in good old England.
So I like the idea that monsters can be so many different things, and the idea of the classic monster that doesn't look human or is very different. But I think a lot of us use monstrous humans as our villains often, and so I'd love to delve into that direction also if we have that. Oh, I think we lost Ken for a second.
That's all right.
Melanie or Reece, do you want to talk about any welcome back, Ken. Whoever wants to go next, whoever wants to talk about whatever kind of monsters you've got, whether that's people that are terrible or creatures, let us know what you got.
Well, seeing that I am in the process of developing my fiction, fantasy, whatever novel it's going to end up being, I originally wanted my book to be like I originally wanted to be like a good feeling book about my life as a fairy tale. But then I got to thinking about some stuff that was going on, and I was like, all fairy tales don't have good endings or beginnings or middles. And so I started thinking, I was writing about Sleeping Beauty, a Sleeping Beauty type character. But then there was this wolf that came into the picture, and I'm like, okay, she's going outside and it's beautiful. Then all these different creatures come up. So now I'm seeing that even though I started out wanting to, talk about my life as a fairy tale, it's changing, and it's starting to be more darker and more bloody characters in it. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be different. And I'm just excited because all of my monsters are not going to be fictional characters. Some of them going to be people. So I'm looking forward to having all kind of monsters in my piece.
And what I was going to add to the end of that, Melanie, which is just amazing, is that I'm wondering how much of an influence our black screen stories has been on you in the writing process.
Seriously.
That was my feedback.
Yeah, well, in case anybody didn't know or had forgotten or wasn't aware, we are in the process of creating black screen stories for you to listen to whilst you're going to sleep or in the car, well, not to watch.
Right, there'll be no video, it'll be a black screen. You'll hear us.
Yeah.
Yep.
So. It's just to listen to. But it's all horror stories. We're going to have thriller stories on there, psychological horrors, all sorts of different things. We're in the process of developing that at the moment. So watch this space, and Melanie has done her one for it, and it's
Can I jump in?
It's so good. I know. Reece and I are a little bit behind, and Adam's a little bit behind as well on that. So, we've got some catching up to do.
Well, it was something new for me, and I was like, you know what? Let's stop talking about me for a minute, and let's talk about something else that can go on out there. And it was, once I got started, it was hard to stop. So it's like this new piece that I'm dealing with. I'm letting it deal with me, because I'm not being constrictive. Wherever it wants to go, I'm going to take it, and we're just going to see where it ends up. I don't know if I'm going to still be alive at the end.
I have vision of a typewriter and the typewriter keys reaching out and like sucking you in.
Yes.
And the little thing to say.
And I was stuck in a hotel room by myself, just going. And when I got to that part and I looked at the screen, I was like, oh my God, really? But yeah,
I think you found your genre. I think you found your calling.
I don't know. It may be. But it won't be under my name. I got to get a whole different name, because my readers that know my story, they're not going to believe that I wrote that.
Well, Ken, why don't you share some about your more about your writing?
Well, I guess the closest where this evil super.
I'm losing you to the Matrix.
I'm having a little trouble hearing you. Can you speak up a little bit?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Oh, that sounds better.
Thank you.
I have it here. Can you hear me okay?
Go ahead.
It's just about, yeah.
Sorry, I turned my my
That sounds great.
Bluetooth off.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yes.
Yep.
My monster is more like, this evil dictator of a supervisor who plots and looks for like an excuse to get rid of the main character, leave him unemployed because he's not an asset. So she'll concoct like a false report, and every time he meets with her, it's like he gets heart palps, and he knows that he has no idea until finally the day he gets terminated and is left on his own to find someone who can help lift him up. Yes, yeah, and she comes early in the story, in my story, but then she he finds different people who are like complicated, like good but also bad at times, but then hard to read. So being on the spectrum,
people are very realistic.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Like a little bit of realism. It makes the story more grounded in a way that you kind of relate to the characters a little bit more and sort of feel that you're part of the story and it could happen to you.
Yes.
Yeah, we've talked about the way that often a good villain has a lot of really quality characteristics that you sort of want to emulate almost, but then they've got this dark side. Yeah, so the duality of people is an interesting thing to play with in writing.
Yes.
It is. Yeah, very much.
Yes,
Right.
but there's so much more to this person's life, and the prequel will be out soon. So talk about childhood. Yes.
Does the character go through some major struggles or traumas in childhood? Is that part of the story?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's like getting lost and sort of like having nightmares and things, and you'll read about those when it comes out. Yes.
That would be, yeah. Nightmares can be terrifying, particularly for children, especially when they don't know, that it's a nightmare, or if they're so realistic. I mean, sometimes they can be so realistic that the child spends the rest of their life remembering just one dream or one nightmare.
My mother, or the character's mother, has different methods of coping with it. So, yes.
Interesting. Yeah.
Really interesting.
AI via Squara. Oh, we've got you muted. Sorry.
I muted only because there was quite a lot of background noise. That's all. Sorry, I've unmuted now.
Oh, great. Would you like to tell us about how you address monsters, whether people or mythological or creatures?
See, I haven't gone any. When I first started the series with Young Knight and his Metal Steed, I haven't gone any further. I mean, okay. See, I'm gonna share some more of the synopsis because a lot of it is kind of crucial into reading the Young Knight and his Metal Steed. When the story started in 19. I already told you that the story started because a giant alien ship crash landed in the year 1985. But what happened was that World War III happened 4 years after that alien ship appeared due to a couple of nuclear bombings. As a result, there was a World War III from 1989 until 1991. With the supranational unions, one of which being the new United Nations, being an attempt to rebuild, all of this is controlled in secret by the gatekeepers of knowledge. The gatekeepers of knowledge are mysterious, yet the only things people know about them is that they reverse engineered the alien technology found in the shipwreck that appeared in 1985. But that's as far as they know, because most of the time the gatekeepers of knowledge are very secretive. Since you like hearing about spoilers, I can share you this. a lot of conflicts in the book series are because the gatekeepers of knowledge allow these wars to happen for, not so benevolent reasons.
Interesting. I'm just going to step in just 1 second. I'm just going to. Can we just say a massive thank you to Ken for visiting us, because Ken has to go, but he is going to come back.
Bye, Mr. Daniels.
Come back. We will see you again. Thank you so much, Ken, for coming.
Sorry, I missed that in the chat. Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Ken. We'll have you again. Thank you. Have a great day.
Absolutely. See you soon.
Thank you, AIV Square. Thank you for giving us a moment to say goodbye. Please keep telling us about anything in your story that.
All right. In fact, a crucial. In fact, you can argue that the main characters, Taro Ganji and Maria Hoshikawa, they're tied to these. They're tied to what the gatekeepers of knowledge are doing. They were the result of a project the gatekeepers were started in the form of enhancing barely born fetuses into being smarter and physically stronger. But in the case of Taro, he wound up not in the custody of the gatekeepers because of his parents. I don't want to go into details as to what became of Taro's parents, but because those details will be in future novels. And in the case of Maria, her biological parents ended up dead because of the gatekeepers, and hence why she's a corporate heiress, because the Hoshikawas, who own one, if not one of the largest companies in Japan in the story, found her as a baby in the middle of the ocean. This is exactly what the gatekeepers did. They modified Maria before she was even born to survive cold temperatures.
Wow.
This is wild. This is very creative and inventive.
Thank you.
Wow, cool. So, I haven't been keeping up in the chat. What's up next, Jules?
Well, I think Reece can have an opportunity as well to share a little bit about monsters, and I think Tom's going to read first. So
that's okay. I'm in no rush. I want to hear from Reece. I'd love to hear from Reece. She wants to hear from me, so we need a reciprocal thing here.
Listen, the one thing I have as far as monsters is concerned is really just them turning on each other. But no, I'm just joking. But the main thing, honestly, is probably more psychological when it comes down to. Wait, say that again.
What?
Sterling
kind of is a monster. Listen,
we've heard that.
I don't know if I've been freaked out, or I don't know what that was.
He's a monster in my book.
Reece writes,
you gotta tell us about Sterling. Go ahead, tell us about Sterling.
Reece writes, hang on, let me just describe Reece's book, because Tom, obviously, you haven't read any of Reece's book. Reece writes, he's probably very confused. Reece writes BDSM and erotica within her novel, which is quite graphic in its descriptions, which is awesome. Hence Melanie's reaction.
It's all coming together.
Yes,
Reece, go ahead. Tell us everything.
Sterling's an interesting character. I would say, honestly, if I wanted to use him as a monster, he's one of those type of people that sway you. I would say he's more like a vampire. Vampires have a tendency to lure you in with their looks and their charm. And then they strike. And he's basically that particular person if you want to use him as a monster character. But figurative monster character, the story that I'm actually working on for our Black Screen series, it's my main character is the monster. But that person doesn't figure out that they're the monster until the end of the story. So it's listen, I haven't even gotten deep. I know, Mel. I haven't gotten deep into it. but it's like a psychological thriller. But he's just that person he's having blackouts and he doesn't understand that everything that's happened is his fault. But he won't figure that out until the end of the actual story. So this is actually not going to be the only. I feel like this is not going to be the actual the ending story for him. It's going to be pieces. So it may be a chapter thing, but we'll just start off with the with our dark winding road, and it just kind of progresses from there. Maybe he gets caught. I don't know yet. I don't know where it's going. So just like Melanie was saying earlier, we're just going to let it go and flow the way it wants to go. But I do not see this being just one piece. I really think it's going to be a character that's going to stretch.
And that's really cool because our Black Screen Stories is not going to be a one-off. We're planning on it being a series. So we're doing season 1 at the moment, which is a dark winding road. That's the theme that we've got, and we can write anything that is horror, psychological twist, thriller based to do with that. So watch this space for that. That is, as you've heard, in the process of being written. All right, thank you. So go on, Adam.
No, I was just excited for Tom. I think isn't that where we're going next? Yeah.
I thought I was back in class again and back in school. I thought you had your hand up.
Go on me, teacher. Go on me. No, I'm good.
It's all right. As you've probably guessed, thank you. As you've probably guessed from that, I'm also an educator. So, yeah. Melanie and I are probably having flashbacks of horror at the moment.
I am too. I'm an ex-English drama teacher myself.
Oh, there you go.
Look at that.
Then you are very familiar.
Even taught in the UK, taught in Canada, UK, Australia. It's boy,
wild.
But Tom.
Oh, there's a bit of trauma. Hang on. Oh.
The UK kids are like uncivilized, undomesticated animals who have no problem saying whatever they think and whatever their brains come up with to the teacher at any point, including a whole load of swear words and a whole lot of racism and a whole load of sexism and all sorts of other things.
It's not unique to the UK, I'm afraid.
No, I know. No, I just
standard teenagers.
Oh, absolutely. I had a student talking about who was talking about Germany, and I said, "Don't speak badly about Germany. I've got family. My family's originally from Germany." And he went, "Oh, you're a Nazi then?" No.
Oh my god.
Oh wow.
They're so inappropriate. They are so inappropriate.
Well, instead of the monsters of teenagers, we need monsters from Tom. I don't want any monsters of teenagers.
I just want to tell Tom, since we were talking about monsters, I think you and Jules teach along the same lines. I'm a monster in myself because I'm a math teacher.
Oh.
So I'm a living monster.
Yeah, I teach maths and science.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's crack on. Tom, right, what are we going to do? Go on, Adam.
Okay, so Tom, this is the way we'd run it. We normally have you'll go up on the screen all by yourself. We'll pop off the screen and go into the back room. We'll have you introduce yourself again.
My favorite character.
Introduce yourself again. Tell us again where to get your work, the title, and then read for a little bit. And then when you're done, just let us know and we'll pop back on the screen again, okay?
Okay, no worries. I'll read 2 sections just to introduce 2 different monsters because Reece was so excited about the mayhem, and it's only a fairly short piece of it I'm going to read. So I'll try not to get carried away. But if I suddenly get popped off the screen, all you guys back, I'll take the hit.
I think I've actually got an image of all your books as well that I can pop up on the screen whilst you're reading. So that'd be cool to show.
Sorry, you want all the names? Was that
right? No.
I've got
the images you sent us.
So what I'll do is I'll pop that up on the screen as well as your links, so people can access that. And I'll put the links in the live chat too, so people can access them that way as well. All right.
Thanks, Jules. That's brilliant.
You're very welcome. All right, over to you.
The floor is mine. Okay, so this is from the first book of the Magicium series. It is called Discoveries, and in this first section, I'm going to read we're going to meet a very interesting dragon, someone who's been actually very controversial in the when discussed. Even my alpha readers were divided on whether this character should stay in or not, which convinced me that he absolutely should. All right, so let's begin. This occurs a fair way into the book. As they staggered across, hemmed in by goblins, the dragon shook snow loose and stamped its feet. Fine leathery wings stretched along its back, their sheer size enough to make Logan quail. What on earth was I thinking? Even from this distance, it towered above them. Its mighty head turned. Logan could imagine its eye ridge raised in question. The goblins pressed even closer whenever the party stumbled. Vile tongues hurled abuse. Claws swiped at any sign of weakness, leaving them oozing blood. Poor Carla received the worst of it, her struggle to concentrate leaving her vulnerable. Her face registered no pain despite the brutality. Between bouts of violence, Logan took a moment to appreciate the dragon's beauty, a beauty dwarfed only by power and size. Among Russus's curses, the dwarf whom Logan had long been friends with, he could hear snorting, the dragon's lungs massive engines of wind. 2 thick ridges ran in silver from its head to the tip of its tail. The gap between those ridges was as wide as Logan was tall. Thicker than any tree trunk Logan had seen, the serpentine neck flexed like elastic. He couldn't tell whether claws or teeth were sharpest, and he had no intention of finding out. Nothing in Logan's limited experience rivaled the power and majesty of the ice dragon. Of course, a healthy dose of fear undermined his admiration. I got us into this. How am I going to get us out? As they drew close, the beast shed the last of the snow and reared, slapping its claws in a thunderous crash. Logan stumbled again. Expecting another slash from his escort, he cringed, then peered sideways. The goblins had prostrated themselves. Should I do the same? Is it going to turn its breath on me? Electric blue eyes protruded from their sockets, radiating cold deeper than the waters of Sydney Harbour. Again, there was a sense of an eyebrow being cocked as it gazed on the insects plaguing its lair. Logan's head would fit comfortably, uncomfortably, in one nostril. In a voice laced with humour and menace, the beast spoke. I have a splitting headache. Something in my back's killing me. I haven't eaten in days. This had better be really important. Even Russus took a step back. Logan watched the dwarf hold the gaze of those frigid eyes. Dragon, I have it. The dragon cleared its throat, sounding like 20 drum kits smashing at the bottom of a cliff. Freezing air buffeted them, relentless. Tiny icicles formed glittering dots on Russus's clothing. His beard looked like frosted bottle brush flowers. And none of this dragon nonsense. My name is Floyd. Let's keep things civil. Russus twitched. Mighty dragon. Oh, I forgot that weirdo name thing. Look, don't think of it as a name. It stands for Flying Lizard of Your Doom. Floyd. The dragon coughed, spraying a miniature blizzard. For some reason, Floyd doesn't strike hearts with fear and terror. He shook his great head. His voice deepened. Swallowing them whole does, just as my creator discovered, tasty-limbed morsel. There you live, you learn, unless you're being digested. Russus looked more than flustered. Brushing ice from his beard in a cascade of white, he said, I latch catch them smooth skins and... Looks like you had a spot of help, Floyd replied, peering at the goblins. Logan could have sworn the dragon was enjoying himself. Slam it, damn it, dragon! Russus roared. The dragon froze. Logan cowered under the holding of collective breath, goblin, human, dwarf, as Floyd turned his cold glare on the party. A deafening roar sent Logan diving into Aloysius, dominating the group like blades of grass under a giant white lawnmower. laughing. The dragon was laughing. Ah, dwarf, I love a speck of gumption. Hey, just messing with you. Chill. Floyd laughed again. Get it? Chill? I'm an ice dragon. Chill? Russus crouched, staring at the dragon. Floyd peered at the goblin horde, still supine. He doesn't get it. Ha, ha, Russus intoned, trying to maintain his dignity as he rose. Like I was flaying saying, I caught these. Stay down! He roared as Logan and Felicity tried to stand. Logan wilted. This is the weirdest moment of this whole insane trip. I want to jet get him to Mistress, Russus said. And these stunted runts said you'd help. Floyd said, caught them all by your lonesome, eh? Interesting. Logan couldn't tell whether interesting was good or not. And you want me to fly you to Mistress for the reward? Russus raised his chin. Yup. Bold, dwarf. The dragon coughed. Logan heard icebergs grinding in its chest. Lucky for you, I missed most of the battle after that damn neutralizer. Floyd flexed his neck. Never suffered a neutralizer before. I don't care for it. His head bulked towards Russus, bringing his nose within a metre of the dwarf's. But did we win? Only a matter at a time. I wonder if I shouldn't fly in and mop up the mess. Floyd groaned as he stamped his feet, spattering mini avalanches from his hindquarters. I'm not keen for another tumble from the sky. He stretched. Oh, there's something wrong back there. He stamped again. Get it? Back there? On my back? Silence. Okay, that one wasn't so great. Don't worry, I'll warm up. Not literally, of course. His mouth quirked, then the giant head shifted left. Right, who's Gobbo boss? And I might hold it there, but as you can see, Floyd is a bit of a wisecracking dragon, likes a good or bad, especially bad pun. So that's introducing him. He actually was originally only going to be a very brief character, but he was so divisive that I created a much deeper backstory for him, and he plays a huge role in a lot of the events that follow. But I won't say any more about that. And so this section is from my second book, Disruptions, and this introduces the creature of the mayhem, who is a one-of-a-kind creature created to serve a purpose and then left to roam on its own. So this is the first introduction to it. A strange drumming, like tiny feet marching as out of time as possible, pattered on the ground. The wind picked up as if the footsteps were driving the air. From behind, a strange thing turned and accelerated. Cries of dismay rose from the dwarfs. Yana panicked, sprawling forward. The creature blasted ahead, heading straight for her. Junior scrambled back, knowing he couldn't get there before Yana was trampled. She half rolled, setting herself straight in the thing's path. Sharp ridges, harsh edges, yellow-white in colour. The creature was certain to mash her into tiny slivers. She covered her head. There was no way the beast could stop. Against all hope, against all logic, against all laws of physics as far as Junior could tell, the thing propped, spun, and charged uphill, heading for the wall of dwarfs who had assembled. Junior heard one voice rise above the others, crying in a tone of horror, "Mistress's mayhem!" The mayhem skittled the troop. Their war songs were crushed in fountains of clear blood. Weapons sprayed like a silver firework. Dwarfs flew several metres with back-breaking power. Two sailed over the ridge, their screams cutting off in an ominous splat. The thing's many ridges impaled another jagged bone carving dwarven flesh. The mayhem stood over its new meat, inhaling it. At least Junior couldn't make out how it was eating. He kept a gawking Jana helped a gawking Jana to her feet stones, watching the insane feasting of some something that he had read a few days beforehand. A yellowish white, like old bones, sharp protuberances jutting from its body, ran at a frantic pace. It smashed through a rock the same size. An abomination, but like no abomination I've ever seen. Junior had to agree. So that introduces the mayhem, and it has a really important role to play in this story as well, but I won't spoil any of that. It was a really fun character to create, and something really out of the ordinary. And actually my street team, a member of my street team, Michelle, actually made a little mold of the mayhem because she thought it was such a cool character. So that's some of my writing.
Yay! That was marvelous. Thank you so much for sharing it. And the drama was over the top. Thank you so much for that also.
You're welcome.
Very much. So, why did you choose to write a series about this? What was your sort of starting point on that?
Well, I guess in some ways it's that I always wanted to write. So when I was 6, I wrote a short story that was based on an Indigenous dreaming myth, and it would be highly politically incorrect today, but it was one that I created, and it was the first time I'd gotten praise from my teacher, and it was, the story was put on the wall and all the rest of it, and I went, okay, I want to do that one day. I don't know if I want to be a living, but I want to do that one day. And so when I was going through high school, I wrote a lot of long stories and all the rest of it, longer than you're supposed to for those high school stories you did, because I just loved it. And then reality set in, and I had to get a job and be a real person, which is not fair, but I did. And so I became a teacher and taught for about 20 years. And because I was, for a lot of those years, I was head teacher of 2 subjects in a private school, I just didn't have time to write. And I was doing English and drama, so I had a lot of marking through the English and putting on a lot of shows through the drama, putting on musicals, putting on productions, all that sort of thing. And so it was just, I seriously didn't have the time to do anything, and all my creative energy went into the drama anyway. And then I spent a year in the UK, 2018 to 2019, teaching. And while I was over there, I was kind of actively discouraged, actually. I wanted to put on a show, but I was actively discouraged from doing that. And so I kind of had this creative energy bouncing around. I had a job that wasn't as demanding as the job I'd had back home. Even my children, my eldest 2 children are married now. They weren't then, but they're married now. And they were living back in Australia. So I only had my youngest daughter with me as well. So the demands just weren't on me in the same way. And I had this creative energy bouncing around. And then one day I woke up and kind of a lot of failed attempts for ideas of stories all coalesced in this one dream that I had. And it was kind of the dream that outlined some of the ideas I mentioned before for the story. And I sat down and started writing that day. I went, well, why not? I feel like this idea's got legs. Yes. So let's give it a shot. And by the end of that first writing session, I had 3,000 words in no time. I went, this is totally a thing. This is a thing. This is my thing. And I told my wife was writing, and she'd read some of my early stuff, and so she didn't hold out high hopes, but I was busy, so she was happy with it. And it wasn't until I finished the first draft, which was a ridiculous 200,000 words written in only 4 months, but I was just so passionate and excited by this idea. It wasn't until I finished the first draft, she read it, and she went, wow, this is actually pretty good. The tide of surprise was a little bit soul crushing, but it was. But she went, yeah, this is really good. And so I thought, okay, this has got legs. I've got to pursue this further. And so I just kept writing. I had 3 books finished by the time I'd finished a year, only first drafts. But by the time I'd finished my year in the UK, the 3 books were done. It was just incredible how the words and the ideas poured out of me. And
when the muse takes hold.
Yeah, you're right. It just wouldn't let go, Adam. So true. And so yeah, I guess that's how I came to be a writer. And then I came back to Australia. I did 1 more year of teaching, but my heart was no longer in it. It had something else had taken hold, and I was a bit disillusioned with teaching and all the time I'd put into it in the earlier years, perhaps a little bit burnt out. And so I said to my wife, well, look, we've only got one child at home now, where why don't we give this writing gig a shot? Why don't I give it a shot? And she was beyond supportive. She couldn't believe I hadn't said it earlier. So it was really yeah. So she's been my number one supporter and is my number one supporter. And I'm very appreciative of her and my eldest daughter, who's also an absolute genius with this stuff. Although she did also become an English drama teacher, so I'm not sure what to make of that. But yeah, it's just been a wonderful journey, and I'm really I'm just thrilled to be doing something. I'm just thrilled to be doing something that makes me want to get up every day and sit down and start work.
Awesome. Tom, I'm going to jump in and say something real quick. I love the fact that you have a witty, fun-loving dragon in your book, because most people think of them as this horrible characters who just want to destroy and hurt people. But I was getting the humor. I loved it. So I thank you for writing a piece of me into your book, because I just feel like we have the same mindset. My kids
people
will probably say the
talk to
same
your
thing about me.
people. We'll do lunch.
And we got to hear from Reece, because Reece was looking forward to monsters.
Listen, I was excited. I was in the midst of all of this stuff, and y'all know I have a tendency with my crazy overthinking imagination to jump in these stories in my mind. So I'm sitting in the room laughing at this dragon the entire time. I'm like, this is really cool. I'm loving this.
Thank you. Yeah, he's definitely my favorite character. And as I said, he's been divisive. Like, I did have alpha and beta readers who both said, you got to get rid of this guy. He just takes it in too weird a direction. I had others said, my wife actually said, you get rid of him, I'm leaving you. So it was an easy decision in the end. But yeah, Floyd was just so much fun to write. And again, he was one of those, I'm essentially a planner, but it was just one of those moments where the story took hold of me and said, why don't you try this? And bang, he was born.
I am Floyd.
Awesome. Well,
It was really good.
Yeah. Should we have AIV Escuela jump on and read? Oh, you're muted. Oh, got it. Perfect.
Okay.
Are you ready? Do you want to read?
Me? Sure. Yeah, I've prepared my novel. All right.
Wonderful. I have an image of your novel that I can actually put up on the screen when you're reading, so you don't have to feel like you have to put your.
Don't worry. I've already been told by Adam. I'm good. Yep. All right.
Perfect.
Start off by again introducing yourself. Remind us the name of your book and where we can get it, and then read until you're done. And when you're ready, just let us know. And we'll pop up. Okay.
Yeah. Sure. All right. Again, I am AIV Esguerra. I started back in 2020. Started my writing career back in 2020. The novel I'm about to read is my first officially published novel, The Young Knight and His Metal Steed. You can buy it at the website of Ukiyoto Publishing, my publisher, or Amazon. I shall begin the novel now. The Young Knight and His Metal Steed by AIV Esguerra. Prologue: A Faltering Voyage. A lone ship traveled the Pacific Ocean with its name, Iron Dutchman, found on both sides of its bow. Mostly a cruise ship, its rear was built with a metallic square. This would have confused any that saw the ship. At the bow proper, Taro, Ganji, and Sunan Watana practiced Muay Thai against the sun that was to set in less than 18 minutes. Taro, aged 17, simply wore green trousers held together by a brown leather belt and brown boots, showing most of his body that had a spare build and a very light skin. Watana, aged 28, wore the same trousers, belt, and boots, but wore a white-colored tank top covering most of her dark skin and short, muscular build. As they practiced their Muay Thai, both the boy and the woman also wore protective gear. It comprised of helmets, boxing gloves, and knee pads. The helmets, however, didn't cover the respective backs, especially with Watana tying her hair in a ponytail, While the boy and the woman practiced, Anita Hamilton approached. In her late 40s, Hamilton had very light skin, short blonde hair, and green eyes. She wore a white-colored button-up shirt underneath a lab coat that hid her tall and athletic build, a black skirt, and high-heeled shoes that were also colored black. Are you two done? Doc, it's you. Doc, it's you. Taro said as he and his sparring partner stopped. We were just about to finish. Bart finished dinner. I suggest you get the washing up now. Got it, Doc. Taro and Watana arrived in the dining room of the Iron Dutchman. The dining room used to be a bar and lounge back when the Iron Dutchman used to be a cruise ship, and yet it still stood, albeit as a common dining room. Both found a table whose chairs weren't entirely filled out, as one seats were entirely filled and one table remained void of occupants. Also on the table was a man of average height and weight with short black hair, light intermediate skin, and light brown eyes named Federico Diaz. Hey, Fed, Watana said as she and the boy sat down. Where are Samir and Vikas? Still getting washed. It's ready. Bartholomew Moura, a dark-skinned man with his black hair in a shape-up and dark brown eyes, shouted as he appeared with a tray with wheels filled with bowls. Despite his fat body, Moura had muscular arms as a result of his days in the Angolan army. In each bowl were bell green peppers, an onion, shiitake mushrooms, and 2 minced cloves of garlic above white rice. The dark-skinned man began distributing one bowl at a time to those occupying the tables. Those who got their bowls began to eat. Jason Luke Crawley, a man in his 30s with very light skin, an angular body, short blonde hair, and light brown eyes, didn't eat despite the bowl. Barto, this isn't bell peppers and beef if there's no beef. It is, but it isn't. It is when we're broke. Wouter Voss, another man with very light skin, replied before he continued eating his meal. He was in his late 30s with blue eyes, a slim body with broad shoulders, and blonde hair and a crew cut. What happened to the 2 million South American dollars we got from the last job? We already spent most of it on fuel that's about to expire in 2 days, clothes, and the food we currently have, Watana. Let it be remembered that it was supposed to be 8 million until Bandiar shot himself, and how much damage was wrought from Ganji's tussle with that Donyan pilot. We should even be thankful that Rodriguez allowed us to leave with a submachine gun and additional 9mm rounds. I found us a job. A teenage girl with short and thin build exclaimed as she appeared in the dining room with 2 men. She and the 2 men filled the seats of the empty table. The girl had light skin, dark brown eyes, and black hair arranged in a ponytail. She wore a short-sleeved shirt, Daisy Duke shorts, and black slippers. What kind of job, Tatev? Taro asked as he and everyone else on the dinner table converged on the table the teenage girl placed on the laptop computer screen. Hold on. Tatev answered as she opened her laptop computer. After opening the laptop, Tatev opened the program that made a small black square appear on the screen, and inside was a smaller rectangle that was colored cyan with the word none, the word being colored white. The words New United Nations were above the cyan rectangle with the words continue or leave below the rectangle. This job's from the New United Nations. Press continue. Voss said. Press continue. Will do, Mr. Voss. Tatev pressed continue in the black square. As a result, the cyan rectangle vanished, and in its place were words and numbers. Below were the words accept and leave. Says here they're looking for protection detail, Hamilton said as she read the words in the black square. 900,000 a month. Not bad. Do we take it? While I didn't appreciate what Senhor Crawley said about my hard work, we could use more money for food, Moura suggested. We could use more clothes, Tatev added. Anyone here disagree? Voss asked the other men in the ship. I'm in, Crawley replied. Miss Watana and I could use some rubber shoes for Muay Thai training, Taro replied. Wait, aren't there any other jobs? Watana asked warily. I mean, was that job from None the only one you found? There was one offer from the Euro-African Alliance, Tatev answered. We're taking this job from none, Voss declared sternly. We don't have enough fuel to cross into the Atlantic. Fine, Watana replied with defeat evident in her tone. Then it's settled, Voss declared before turning to Tatev. Mirzoyan, press accept. Chapter 1, The Iron Dutch Men. Alberto Perez, a man with no hair on his scalp, dark skin, and dark brown eyes, arrived at his office in the headquarters of the new United Nations Foreign Intelligence Service. 65 years old and with his blazer and suit hiding his body with average height and broad shoulders, Perez was born in the Republic of Cuba early into the rule of Fidel Castro as the descendant of Africans brought to Cuba back when it was a Spanish colony for slave labor. Upon coming of age, Perez was conscripted into the Cuban military when it was sent to aid the government created by the Movimento Popular de Libertação de Angola, while it fought a civil war throughout the former Portuguese colony that was Angola. After 2 years as a conscript, Perez studied at the Instituto Técnico Militar, José Martí, and after his graduation became an intelligence officer later throughout his prolonged career in the Cuban military. The office Perez occupied was once the office of the Director of the United States of America's Central Intelligence Agency. After the Third World War, the U.S. banded together with many countries to create the new United Nations, and one thing that transpired with this was that the member states of none had to dissolve their respective foreign intelligence agencies, the US's CIA amongst those agencies. Yet with the threat of other supranational unions also created from the chaos of the Third World War, none created the intelligence collective, where the intelligence agencies of its member states were to work together to determine threats to none, but a branch of the intelligence collective was created to serve as none's sole foreign intelligence agency, the Foreign Intelligence Service. The FIS was given the old CIA headquarters in the unincorporated community of Langley as its headquarters. Alberto Perez, due to his record within Cuban military intelligence, joined the intelligence collective's FIS as his country downscaled its military when it joined none. He was made director of foreign intelligence as of recently. The door opened. Coming inside the room was a man with very light skin, graying brown hair, and green eyes. This man was Stanley McAllister, the deputy director of the Covert Action Center. 59 years old, McAllister knew of the United States of America prior to the Third World War. Upon turning 18, he enlisted into the new United States Army as the war started. However, his hometown was destroyed by nuclear fire, yet despite that, he carried on with his life to the point he continued his studies. He joined the Intelligence Collective's Foreign Intelligence Service and worked his way up to Deputy Director of Covert Action, where all the FIS's clandestine activities were handled by him. I was told you needed me, Perez asked. I have an update about Maria Hoshikawa, McAllister answered. Do tell. One mercenary group finally took up the offer we posted throughout PrimalNet. Where's Kaguya? She's keeping an eye on the mercenaries who've accepted this offer. Who are they? Iron Dutchman Services. Perez's face dropped. You're joking me, right? He asked. Sadly, no. McAllister answered. I can understand why you reacted this way, Al. Kaguya and I were surprised too. Why exactly does Iron Dutchman Services have our attention again? Their last contract was with the South American Union in the form of assisting the arrest of small-time arms dealer Kirk Bandiar, who was selling the last of his weapons to one Rolf Nunez. The Rolf Nunez, same one. The whole thing snowballed, and while Nunez was arrested, Bandiar shot himself to avoid arrest. It's for that reason and the damage from a fight Iron Dutchman Services wall gear pilot had against the surviving wall gear pilot under the Bandiar's employees of mercenary that Iron Dutchman Services as a whole was only paid 25% of what the SAU promised to pay them. And how much were they offered at first? 8 million South American dollars. All the damage from the fight between the two wall gear pilots and Bandiar's suicide reduced that reward to 2 million. And where are they now? In the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Kaguya is tracking them now. Get her to tell those mercenaries that they need to go to Hawaii. Mr. Voss, I got a response, Tatev Mirzoyan shouted as she barged into the Iron Dutchman's bridge with her laptop. Wouter Voss, manning the ship's helm, turned to Tatev. What is it, Mirzoyan? Someone from none gave us instructions. Jake, take the helm. Voss ordered to Jason Lou Crawley upon turning to him. Aye, aye, boss, Crawley replied. As Crawley took the helm, Voss walked up to Tatev. As Tatev opened her laptop, she showed the program she used earlier. Voss then found the instructions Tatev spoke of. Says we have to go to Pearl Harbor. Voss read from what he saw from Tatev's computer. Someone from the FIS would see us there. You're kidding. The FIS? Crawley asked while rearing his head towards Voss and Maria. Ooh, Tatev. Sorry, I may have made a typo there. Does it matter now? Voss asked the Crawley. We said yes, we're doing this. Aye, aye, boss. Attention all hands, this is your captain speaking, Wouter Voss announced throughout the Iron Dutchman's PA system. We are nearing Pearl Harbor, so except for me, Mr. Crawley, Dr. Hamilton, and Miss Watana, please report to the briefing room. Our client will be boarding the ship, and we're to allow him to or her on board. Throughout the Iron Dutchman, people began to converge to the ship's briefing room, an old movie theater. This was because the Iron Dutchman was once a cruise ship that was destroyed during the Third World War. That was refloated and turned into a mobile headquarters that Wouter Voss won in a game of chance. He named it the Iron Dutchman, and the mercenary outfit he established as Iron Dutchman Services as a result. One by one, people throughout the ship reached the briefing room. Last to go inside were Taro Ganji and Tatev Mirzoyan. I wonder who Mr. Voss will allow on board the ship, Taro pondered. 3 men waited at one of the ports in Pearl Harbor. All of them had very light skin and wore sunglasses. One of them, who had a very slim build and broad shoulders, no hair at all in his scalp, and a scar between the scalp and his right ear, brought out a pair of binoculars, seeing the Iron Dutchman as a result. Pearl Harbor was once the headquarters of the United States Navy's Pacific Fleet. After the Third World War and the creation of the new United Nations, the United States of America, one of the founding states of the NUN, downsized its military, and because many ships were destroyed during the war, the U.S. Navy was dissolved with the surviving ships used for NUN's own navy, the new United Nations Maritime Force. The old naval base in Pearl Harbor was acquisitioned for NUN-MF's Pacific Fleet. I see the Iron Dutchman, the man with the binocular said. Good, another man replied. The Iron Dutchman then made it to a port normally reserved for non-MF vessels. As the ship stopped, it lowered its starboard anchor. A gangway was then connected to the Iron Dutchman. The 3 men that spotted the ship boarded and saw Voss, Jake Crawley, Anita Hamilton, and Sunan Watana. Welcome aboard the Iron Dutchman, Voss announced. I'm Wouter Voss, owner of Iron Dutchman Services. We know, one man replied. Call me Fred Smith. We're with the Foreign Intelligence Service of the Intelligence Collective, and we're here to explain to you your entire mercenary group as to the full details about this job you applied for. Then follow me to the briefing room. You have a briefing room? Of course we do. Of course we do, Crawley answered. Follow us. Voss, Crawley, Watana, and Hamilton reached the Iron Dutchman's briefing room with the 3 men who boarded the ship. Everyone already inside the briefing room except for Tatev, already in the projector room, turned to those who've entered until they made it to the stage. Everyone, these gentlemen, as you can guess, represent the new United Nations, Voss announced to those facing the stage. One of them would go to the projection room and show us what we will be doing, so please pay attention. Only ask once an explanation has been finished. One of the 3 men with sunglasses then walked away toward the projector room. Tatev then stepped away from her laptop upon seeing the man. The man then connected a universal storage bank device onto the device and opened the files found in the USB. The file was then projected onto the screen with everyone watching. A picture of a girl as old as Taro and Tatev was shown on the screen. She had long blonde hair that reached past her shoulders, blue eyes, light skin, and wore a high school uniform for girls that consisted of a button-up shirt with long sleeves underneath a black blazer with the school's emblem on its left, a skirt, socks that reached as far as the knee, and leather shoes. The bottom-up shirt and the socks were colored white, while the blazer, skirt, and shoes were colored black. A red-colored bow tie was tied around the collar of the button-up shirt. The emblem consisted of a yellow-colored shield with a large N in white inside. This girl is Maria Hoshikawa, Smith explained. 17 years old, she'll be the individual you are to protect. I can imagine you want to know why, so I'll cut straight to the point. Certain individuals might have a particular interest in her, either criminal groups or any other supranational union's intelligence services. Wait a second, is this Maria Hoshikawa, the daughter of Daisuke Hoshikawa, president of the Hoshikawa Group? Anita Hamilton asked. She is. However, no one but him and his wife Miku must know that we've hired mercenaries to protect their daughter. Not even Maria herself can know of this. And why is that? Voss asked. We have yet to ascertain who she really is, much less why people are after her. Smith turned away from the mercenaries to his subordinate in the projector room. Kirk, next slide, please. Without saying anything, the agent named Kirk projected another picture towards the screen. Now on the screen was a newspaper clipping and a picture of a destroyed ship. As you can tell with the blonde hair, Maria Hoshikawa is not the biological daughter of Daisuke Hoshikawa. As an infant, she was discovered by Daisuke and Miku when they took a sailing vacation off Rabun Island. This newspaper clipping, this is that incident involving the gatekeepers of knowledge, isn't it? Crawley asked. You're correct, Smith answered as he turned to Crawley. We detected the mysterious plane above Rabun Island for an hour before Maria was discovered. We had already collected information that the gatekeepers had built their own military to defend Enlightenment Point, and to test our response, we leaked our findings. Naturally, the gatekeepers responded the way we expected them to. And what does this have to do with the gatekeepers? That's why we've been watching Maria, because you took up the job offer here to protect Maria until we found enough information to connect Maria to the gatekeepers. Again, you must not reveal who you really are. Next slide, please. What followed was a picture of a walled building with a clock at its center top shown on the screen. This is Nishi High School, located in the state of Japan's Kansai City. Smith continued. Maria studies in this school, and seeing that among the individuals I'm looking at as a teenager himself, I need him to infiltrate the school as a recently enrolled student to keep an eye on Maria. Wait, you mean? Yes, Taro Ganji. The adolescent male stood up. Acknowledged, Taro replied. Isn't this too risky? Hamilton argued. Taro may be of the same age as Miss Hoshikawa, but he hasn't associated himself with people of the same age. I know of his past, Smith replied. We can use it as a cover for him to be enrolled into Nishi High School. Also, we aren't asking you to go to Japan immediately because we need to conduct an immersion procedure. Immersion procedure? Vika's mystery, a man in his early 20s with a body of an average weight, yet a short height, black hair in a crew cut, dark skin, and light brown eyes asked. Mr. Ganji will have to learn the ways of a Japanese teenager, Smith explained. Kirk, next slide. Now on the screen was a teenage male whose face was deliberately covered in black to protect his identity. The teenager wore a uniform similar to what Maria Hoshikawa was shown to wear, but as the individual now shown was a male, his uniform included trousers as opposed to a skirt that was also colored black. Instead of a bow tie around the button-up shirt's collar, it's a necktie. This is the male uniform of Nishi High School, Smith stated. We've already acquired one as we've already conducted the paperwork making sure Mr. Ganji will be enrolled. Now, we need someone to act out as Mr. Ganji's guardian. I'll do it, Hamilton said. Good idea, Voss replied. Doc may have seen action with us, but she's a doctor first and foremost. Now we'll offer our resources to help you do your job efficiently, Smith said. Dr. Hamilton, what will you need? A clinic to serve as a cover. I am a doctor after all. Appropriate equipment too. Might I please make a suggestion? Taro asked. And what might that be? Smith asked as he faced Taro. Might I please have my own apartment? Well, Dr. Hamilton is to act as my guardian. I'd rather not give her any problems if she wishes to act out as a real doctor. In addition, I feel that having my own apartment will allow me to store equipment needed for special emergencies. I'll see what I can do. If we're to keep an eye on this on Maria Hoshikawa, can you arrange to have the Iron Dutchman docked elsewhere? Voss asked. We can have a dock prepared, Smith answered for Voss. We even prepared a location to service Dr. Hamilton's clinic near the dock where the Iron Dutchman will be docked. However, Dr. Hamilton and Mr. Ganji will have to leave for Japan first to sort out the paperwork as part of Mr. Ganji's cover. If we're to go to Japan, we'll need more fuel though. Samir Bosek, a man as old as Mystery, with a body of an average height and weight, brown hair, and dark eyes, said, We'll have more ship. While waiting, Mr. Ganji will have to familiarize himself with Japanese society. I have a question myself. Do we have information on Miss Hoshikawa's social life? Taro asked. Who she talks to on a regular basis, her hobbies. Kirk will deliver a file Marie soon enough, Smith answered. Speaking of which, Kirk, next slide. Projected on the screen was a map of a city. Its name was shown on the left in both kanji and English, but both written in black. The name in English found below the kanji read as Kansai City. Across the map of Kansai City were portions marked by red circles. To sum up what you need to know about Maria, you must memorize these locations and keep an eye on her. Smith explained before pointing at a circle found at the right side of the map. This is where the Hoshikawa mansion is located. Now that you know these locations, you are to be positioned here almost every day to keep an eye on Maria. But remember, do not let her know you're there. They suggest assigning one individual to a certain location for one day only. The following day, another individual must be assigned there. Also, make a rotation chart to figure out who is assigned where and when. Sure, Maria replied. Matana replied. Now, what about alternative jobs? What do you mean by alternative jobs? What Miss Watana here is saying that we should be allowed to accept other job offers than this? Voss asked. 900,000 US dollars is a lot, but preferably we like to earn more than that for certain needs, such as point targets for shooting practice. Additional parts if we're allowed to keep a wild gear, Federico Diaz added. We considered that. It'll depend on the client as to what additional jobs we will approve of. Thanks so much, Voss replied. Any more questions? Smith asked. I have one. I assume you're giving us smartphones to use for this job. We are. We feel that it's crucial for you. It's crucial you need a quick way to communicate with each other. Are we allowed to keep them when after this job is over? Hamilton asked. Of course. Though we will need to make modifications when it does end, which I assure you we will. As to when, that's not my place to ask. What modifications are we talking about? Tata Mizorian asked as she appeared in the front center row of the briefing room. You'll know soon enough, Smith answered as he faced Tata, then turned to every other member of Iron Dutchman Services. Any more questions? A collective no from every member followed. Good, Smith replied. Now then, I have questions for you. Before I ask my first one, you must know that this is simply for information collection to make sure we didn't make a mistake by recruiting you for this job. Smith began looking amongst the members of Iron Dutchman Services. Some showed that they were nervous, but Smith didn't notice for varying reasons. Ultimately, he stopped at Taro. Mr. Ganji, this is my first question. Where were you born? Smith asked Taro. I honestly do not know, sir. Taro answered. I was found as an infant amongst a refugee community of Polacks who fled to the Islamic Republic of Iran when the alien ship Revelator crashed into Afghanistan in 1985. I am named Taro Ganji because someone gave a note to the people who found me by my dying mother that contained the name. And how long have you been with Iron Dutchman Services? 2 years. I was a child soldier who fought during the Eurasian Tsardom's invasion of Iran 7 years ago. Since then, I've wandered across the desert until I ran into Iron Dutchman Services in Libya 2 years ago. Since then, I learned more than what I learned prior to fighting. I assume that's all you know about your past. So far, yes. And what do you think about this mission? I have nothing negative to say about this mission. I do, however, feel as if I could learn something about my past through this mission. Are you sure Maria Hoshikawa will relate to this? I don't know, but the fact that Daisuke and Miko Hoshikawa aren't her biological parents make it feel as if there's a connection. Wow. Wow. Probably thought if Ganji were to use that while talking to a girl, he'll definitely get kicked in the groin. I see. Smith coughed. I see. Smith coughed before facing Voss. Mr. Voss, what about her? Voss saw Smith open his right palm and directed toward Tatev. Who's she? Tatev Mirzoyan, Voss answered. We met her in our contract with the African Federation where we put an end to a human trafficking ring operating in Mogadishu. We took in Mirzoyan after that, and somehow she knew her way around computers and other electronics that she gets us contract, such as this one. Mind if she comes down here, please? Sure. I'm on my way down, Tatev shouted as she began to leave the projector room. Everyone looked at Tatev walking down the briefing room stage. Their heads moved just as Tatev continued to climb to the stage, joining Voss and Smith. What do you wish to ask me? Tatev asked the Smith. I'm surprised you do such work for these mercenaries, Smith replied. Do you mind if I can ask you about your past? My past? I see. You've heard about it from Mr. Voss. You don't have to tell me. I don't mind, but mind if I just whisper to you? I don't really feel comfortable talking about it yet. All right. Tatev moved toward Smith's right ear and began whispering. Voss promptly moved away, yet he, along with his subordinates, looked on with interest at what Tatev whispered to Smith. Tatev then finished the whispering and moved away from Smith. Voss moved closer now. Now I understand why you took in this girl and why she hasn't told you about her past yet, Smith said as she looked at the rest of the Iron Dutchman Services members. At this rate, I do not have any other question. Smith then turned to the FIS agent behind him. After using body language, the latter gave to the former a piece of paper and in turn gave it to Voss. This is the formal contract, Smith explained to Voss. You have until tomorrow to go over it and sign it. If you haven't signed it by tomorrow, consider this opportunity forfeit. Got it, Voss replied. The FIS agent named Kirk then joined Smith. We'll return tomorrow for that contract. Good luck with going over it and signing it if you do wish to pursue it. What happens if we don't accept this contract tomorrow? Voss asked while Smith and his men began to walk away from the former. That will be up to your imagination, Smith answered. To help with your decision, you can keep that USB with you till tomorrow. It'd be better that your signature on the contract be dry when I come back. Every member of Iron Dutchman Services was in their namesake's dining room. They all surrounded Tatev Mizorian as she used her laptop computer. The screen of Tatev's laptop now showed a file on Maria Hoshikawa. Everything from date to birth until her personal hobbies was in the file. Tatev then continued reading through the file. Using a red-colored circle found in the middle of the laptop's keyboard, Tatev was able to move the arrow on the screen that was used as a visual marker of going from one place to another throughout the computer. Tatev moved the red circle on the keyboard to the right end of the screen, placing the arrow toward a rectangle in the middle of a longer rectangle. Pressing a button in the lower center row of the keyboard, Tatev then moved the red circle downward. That lowered the file from the profile on Maria that the mercenaries were reading to a document. The writing was both in Japanese and English. Anita Hamilton was the first to read this part of the file and examined it closely. This must be her medical certificate, Hamilton surmised. I see nothing out of the ordinary here. Hold on, there should be more. Tatev warned as she pressed the same button and moved the red circle in the middle of the keyboard downward. Now shown on the screen was something similar to the medical certificate Hamilton read. As a result, Hamilton examined the document again. This is strange. It says here that Miss Hoshikawa was discovered on November 3, 2013. The Sea of Japan must have been awfully cold at that time of year, Voss said. She should have died before Daisuke Miku even found her, and she was just only an infant. Hold on, there should be more to this, Tatev added as she moved the file further down. This is a report about that particular incident by the Foreign Intelligence Service, Hamilton said as she saw the document now displayed on the laptop screen. As Hamilton said, the document belonged to the FIS, as shown with the 3 letters and Intelligence Collective in the upper left corner of the document. Unlike the earlier document, this part of the file was written entirely in English. Figures the FIS would be really interested in why a baby would survive cold waters, Voss said. Anything else on Hoshikawa? Hold on, Tata replied. Tata moved the file further. Now shown were records that bore the insignia of Nishi High School. Incredibly good grades. Tsuno Ratano remarked as she was able to see the documents now shown on Tata's laptop screen. Wait, that could be it. Taro Ganji added. Got something, Ganji? Crawley asked Taro with every other mercenary, including Tatev, looking at Taro. We have an infant girl that was found in the middle of the Sea of Japan and now gets high grades at the school she studies at. Then there's how she was found an hour after a boat was destroyed in the middle of the Sea of Japan. What are you insinuating? Botana asked. That Maria must either be from the Eurasian Tsardom or the Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic based on her appearance. And how strange is that? Voss asked. Other than surviving cold ocean water, but even other teenagers, people the FIS shouldn't have worried about to the point of hiring mercenaries. Would it be the type to attract other intelligence agencies? I think Ganji has a point, Botana replied. The girl might get good grades and is skilled enough in judo to be the president of Nishi High School's judo club, but it doesn't change the fact that all of this happened in the Sea of Japan, which its namesake shares with Soviet Russia, the Eurasian Tsardom, and North Korea. It isn't just the FIS who should have been able to hear of this incident. Then there's how proof the gatekeepers of knowledge are involved in this, Tatev added. Gatekeepers have not revealed much about themselves, and the fact they're creating their own military was something that was discovered around the same time. If I were Grand Gatekeeper Sergei Akolov, I'd commission a test of a bomber to see if it's capable of being used by the gatekeeper's military. But why attack a boat in the middle of the Sea of Japan? Voss argued. Especially if an infant was bound to survive the attack. Then the gatekeepers might also be connected to Hoshikawa, Taro replied. With what they did in order to gauge their response about the alleged bomber, it was natural that they would need someone to keep an eye on Hoshikawa, but now we have 2 questions. How connected are they to a baby that can survive cold ocean waters and achieve what you've read in this file, and why? That's a good point. That's a good point, Crawley replied. This might veer into comic book plot, but only a mysterious organization like the Gatekeepers could pull this off. Even if that were the case, why would the gatekeepers be involved with the birth of an infant? Other than that, what would a boat be doing in the Sea of Japan that the gatekeepers could be involved? Regardless, we should discuss the ramifications of this contract later, Voss said. Everyone, remember, return to your respective rooms and wait until Bartel finishes the night's dinner. Everyone but Voss left the dining room. I better review that contract until then, Voss thought. Is it okay if I stop here now? My throat's not so well, and I don't want to disturb the rest of my.
And we didn't want to interrupt you. You were just plowing through this awesome story. Thank you so much for sharing it. That was incredible. You were...
Sorry, I stopped here. You will have to buy the book to read the rest of it. I'm sorry.
That's what we want. We want you to come on here and tell people about your book so that they go out and buy it. That's exactly what we want you to do.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Do you have any more questions about it?
Where can people get it? Is it on Amazon, or do you have your own website?
Like I said, Ukiyoto's website and Amazon.
Okay, and it's been on the bottom of the screen. Awesome, good. So people have been able to see it. They've been watching the video. Okay, got it. Thank you so much for reading the detail of the ship and the story that you've got going is totally wild. Yeah, and the characters.
You've done it in such a way that you can imagine the area even if you've never been there, which was really cool because I've never been to that part of the world. I was able to sort of envision sort of the sea and sort of where the countries were, and I really like how you've actually kept it as real to life as you possibly can, but obviously with your own elements in it as well.
Alternate fiction. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. It really adds to sort of like the depth of it, but also the intrigue as well. Because I'm now thinking, I really wish I'd like to go to those places. They sound like really cool places.
Well, and your delivery was great too, with your different voices you gave us. It was very, very dramatic. It was wonderful. We liked that.
Yeah, it was almost like just being there, and I was like turning my head trying to see who's going to talk next. So it was very descriptive, and I enjoyed listening to it.
Thanks.
Did you what's kind of made you choose to write about the topic that you've written about, with like baby modification?
I wanted to write something similar to what I've been reading, playing, and watching.
Cool. No,
when you
we
say
love
play,
it.
you're talking about computer game. Are you talking about a computer game?
What?
Are you talking about a computer game?
Yes, I've other than books, actually I was influenced more by movies, TV shows, and video games. I did read novels, but in fact that's because I've learned that there are novelizations of movies, and that these novelizations tend to add more elements that you can't find in the movie.
Yeah.
So that's what helped inspired me to become an author.
That's really cool. Was one of the computer games Death Stranding by any chance?
No, I have not played. I've heard about it, but I have not played it.
That has a baby in it. That is all about death and the end of the world, and the fact that you've got a baby fetus that you have to carry around with you literally everywhere, because if you die, which happens,
I've heard of that.
you are reincarnated in this baby. It's an interesting
But I did
game.
not. But that's not an influence for the book. The thing with Maria managing to survive cold ocean waters is only flat. In fact, there's even a scene depicting how she was adopted by the Hoshikawas. But again, you're going to have to buy and read a copy to know how that happened.
Of course. It's quite interesting that I like the topic of monsters, because although we have our own creations and our own versions of monsters, we also have monsters in real life as well, whether it's serial killers or politicians, dare I say it. So it's quite a nice topic, because inspiration can come from quite a broad range of sources. And then I bet there's many celebrities or politicians out there who have literally no idea that the horrendous decisions that they make and the horrendous behavior that they do ends up in someone's book as a character. It's an interesting topic. So, Melanie, did you want to do a little bit of reading from yours?
Ooh.
For my new piece, not yet.
No. I'm not putting you under pressure for that one.
But you know
hear
what?
that the other one, yeah.
You know what? I did just write a poetic piece for a publication, just for the public. I mean, not for a broadcast that was just last weekend. So, I don't. If you don't mind, I can share that one with you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And it's actually a piece about. I'm going to get it pulled up. It's a piece about life after depression, because the broadcast is for Women's History Month, and it was when women heal. And being that I don't like to say a survivor of depression, I manage depression. I wanted to write about my life after depression. So this one is entitled "The Light in Darkness."
Right, I'm going
And
to
I
put you on the
haven't
big
memorized
screen.
it yet, so I won't be
Okay.
reciting it. I'll be reading it.
That's all right.
The light in darkness. Let there be light. That's what I was waiting for, hoping for. I could take no more darkness. I had lost my fight. I lost my sight. No, I was not all right. I wanted it to end, no longer to pretend that I was just fun. I wanted to breathe again. Not just shallow, deep. I could not keep sucking wind. I wanted to just sleep without weeping. Yes, these thoughts, they were creeping into my mind, but why wouldn't the light just creep in and show me that there was hope before I began to feel like I couldn't cope anymore? Wait, I see a door, but I can't reach it. I'm stuck to this floor in a paralyzed state, paralyzed by the fear, paralyzed by the pain, paralyzed by the unknown. But what would I gain from leaving this life? Wait. Through the door, I see a light. In the deep darkness, it shines so bright I can't let go. I fight in spite of the fact that it was my own actions that put me here. Regurgitating pills that could have ended me. An act so severe for a wish to just disappear. But what turned out to be a mere catalyst for the rebirth of me. A woman previously bound who fought to be free, who laid all the pain aside to experience what she could not see. A life of unknown opportunity. No longer afraid to live and unafraid to die. Now confidently able to search for her why. All because she desired to endure the pain. Influenced by her mentor and her supporters, a healthy mindset she did obtain and vowed to remain faithful to the one who loved her true. The one she barely knew, but through this light, she began to view as powerful, knowledgeable, and courageous too, because she made it through what others could not do. And strives every day to begin anew with love, kindness, and a clear sense of who she is to be. A woman who loves herself, a woman who loves life, and vows to live it unapologetically. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Yep. The rhyme
That was
scheme
really
on
good.
that was excellent. The rhyme scheme was awesome. Oh, Tom, you're muted right now.
I don't believe you're a maths teacher at all, Melanie. I don't believe you say it, but how would I know? I can't believe that at all. I was just spellbound by your rhythm and your rhyme, but also your passion as you read. That was performance poetry without rehearsing. Okay, you are not a maths teacher. Don't give me that.
I actually am. And my kids actually love the fact that I'm a writer and I'm a poet, but I teach math. And they work really, really hard to have just a few minutes of downtime. And they'll say, "Do you have something you can read for us?" And I was like, you know what? I can. And so I'll pull up something and find something for them and read it. And they just love it. They love it.
And they should. That was so compelling.
Thank you. Thank you.
It definitely was. And it's such a beautiful way to end our show. Perfect. Massive thank you to all our guests, to Ken, who obviously isn't here now, but we will have him returning. ARV and also Tom as well. You would love to have you back as guests.
Subliminal messaging.
Absolutely.
Everybody, throw your books up there. Yep, throw your books up there.
Go ahead. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
I love that, Tom. I love it.
One more. Boom.
Oh, I can do it again. Hang on.
And
I love it.
awesome.
I'm just going to say a massive thank you to everyone, and I hope to see you all soon. Have a peaceful week, and we will see you Sunday.
This weekend. Yep.
It's Sunday this week. All right, take care. Bye.
Bye, everyone. I'll be leaving first.